Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third series of the Thought Leader webinars, which we have introduced. The purpose being that we are talking about factors which are impacting the F&B retail, which has, of course, been severely impacted as part of hospitality due to the pandemic. But we are seeing very good signs of recovery. I have here with me today Mr. Shashank Sharma, the Director North and West from Mountain Trail Foods, much more popularly known to you as Chai Point. I'll give you a short background on Shashank. Shashank graduated with top honors and a gold medal from the Institute of Hotel Management, Pusa. I'm proud to say my alma mater, so I am very happy to have him here with us. Then he joined the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development, commonly known in the trade as the OCLD. And he started as a management trainee with them and finally went on to become one of the youngest food and beverage managers in the organization in 2014. Shashank was also awarded the F&B Manager of the Year award by Hotelier India later in the same year. Then at that stage, Shashank moved on to Mountain Trail Foods Private Limited in 2016, the very, very famous Chai Point brand. And thereon went to expand the business across Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, as well as launching company operations in new territories like Goa and Ahmedabad. Highly skilled in QSR operations, P&L management, business development, catering, food and beverage. Shashank is a strong sales professional with certifications from MTI, Harvard, and Cornell. Currently, he's officially the Director, Retail North and West at Chai Point and brings along with him over 13 years of experience. Shashank, once again, welcome to this webinar. Thank you so much for taking time out. And we are really happy to have you here with us.
Well, thank you, Ajit sir, for that glowing and really
Not at all.
thank you so much for
It's my pleasure.
saying so much about me. Very, very kind of you.
And let me introduce Kushang now. Kushang is the founder of Supply Note. What is Supply Note? We shall be talking about it. Supply Note is a retail platform being built up to support the F&B retail business, which is going to talk very strongly about, which has a very strong product, built a tech platform, which is all about supply chain management, logistics, as well as a very beautiful module of vendor discovery, which is the biggest pain in most F&B retail people's business operations. So that is something which he's been working hard. Kushang started off by doing his Bachelor of Science from IIT Kanpur and completed it with a master's. And then he immediately jumped into the entrepreneurial mode, launched a company, a brand called Adure Cup. Adure Cup was essentially a supply chain solution provider that was started in 2015. Kushang,
yeah,
am I right? Okay. And then 2019, they have further innovated and launched Supply Note. Supply Note, like I already mentioned, is a tech platform to help the F&B retail with supply chain and, very importantly, vendor discovery, plus sorting out a host of other issues which we will talk about. Okay, let me not get everything over here. So that's it. So welcome, Kushang. Thank you for being here. And
thank you, Ajay
we'll have
sir.
a great discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hosting us.
No, it's my pleasure. What we wanted to talk about today was, while everybody's of course talking about the F&B business post-COVID world, blah blah blah, and I think everybody's also very tired of hearing about it. Reality. To me, something which has been troubling me in terms of actual data is the fact that we've been talking a lot about home delivery ever since the pandemic hit us, because home delivery was the only thing which was allowed to happen by the government under the essential services. And slowly a lot of things got built up around it. A lot of people started pivoting to it. So one thing I wanted to ask Shashank's help today was that is home delivery really the kind of messiah or the mecca it is being shown as? Is it really something which can really sustain businesses? So those are the things that we basically like to talk about, apart from other issues related with the F&B retail. So tell me, Shashank, the post-COVID scenario, vaccines in sight now, is it changing customers' perceptions of moving out? You run a business which is very strong on high street. Is it changing customers' perceptions of moving out? The vaccine scenario?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as you very rightly kind of touched upon that everybody's kind of been bottled up for a very, very long time. And before the conversation kind of got started, even with Kushan, we kind of mentioned about people kind of stepping out the moment it's a Friday. So we have definitely seen people kind of being a little more cautious in terms of having the masks and sanitizers on. But having said that, with the proper gear on, people are freely moving around, and we are seeing traffic not only in the roads but also people kind of walking into the cafes, because you might see folks on the road, which in the first half or towards say about 3 months ago we were seeing the scenario, but they wouldn't walk into the stores. It would be a mission like
Okay.
shopping. You go in, boom boom boom, pick up what you want and you come out. Now that's changed over the last 2 3 months.
So is that the vaccine, or is it simply the realization that we as Indians have a very high recovery rate in any case?
I think the realization of the fact that this has almost become a and you cannot wait it out is
Okay.
something
Okay.
which has kind of triggered it. I think that's the heavyweight which is making people kind of move out. And man is a social animal. We at Chai Point believe that a lot, and we want to create those social spaces. So the touch and feel and the conversation which you can have and influence a particular deal or a discussion to take a particular direction is way different than just doing it digitally. So I think
Okay.
that's also prompting people to come out.
So Kushang, while Shashank has this, of course, very nice kind of, large view with 59, 60 stores on ground, you also deal with multiple clients, multiple F&B retail business. What's your take on this? What's happening? What is encouraging the moving out? Is it just sheer, oh, I want to get out? Or are there encouraging factors, scientific factors in place?
So, sir, as we already discussed and Shashank rightly pointed out, uh, indeed, man is a social animal, and we have learned how to interact, how to do meetings, what are the outcomes, what are the productivity, what is the productivity when we are interacting in person, right? So all that is realized now. I mean, like 9 months almost we have spent in work from home conditions, and we have understood that there are certain restrictions, even in this kind of environment with all the tech gadgets we have, right? And certain profiles like sales, operations can't happen sitting inside the office, especially the B2B environment, the way in which we deal also, it just cannot happen sitting out, right? It requires certain level of attention span in person, right? So all the realization has really hit us now, and people have really got inspirations from the vaccine coming up, and people already, actually, to be very honest, in a funny way only, but almost 30% of the population already has it and they have recovered, right? So I mean, like, people feel confident. I mean, like, uh, to be very honest, even in our support team, certain people had it and now they are recovered. So it's like those who have recovered will go in person and give in person support. So that has also happened, right, to some extent. So people have learned, as humans do, that how to tackle this, and that's why people have started going out, experiencing what they used to experience, and all that is going to come up with some kind of influence from what we have learned during the 9 months, right, with some good habits, and we'll be back to the better habits, right? That's my take, actually.
So what you and Shashank both are saying is, one, we as Indians have hopefully, kind of pulled up our socks and improved our personal hygiene standards, which
Absolutely,
honestly speaking are generally poor in India. I mean, we are aware of it. So
no
which is a
denial.
good thing. And the rest is just kind of the statistics rolling in that you even if you fall sick, you recover faster, better, and less people relative to our 138 crore population. We are pretty, I mean, kind of safe in our own DNA types. And But with talks of the vaccine, I think it will can only improve. Finally,
Yeah.
the vaccination program is kind of starting off in Bombay, Delhi, the larger centers. So which should give people greater confidence and of course safety. Great. So Shashank, let me come back to business. Does home delivery really sustain business? And I'm not asking you specific use case. I mean, as in Chai Point, you are a seasoned professional. You deal with 50 other guys in the street. So I'm asking more from perception, from what the people attending the webinar would like to understand. Can home delivery just home delivery sustain business? What do you think?
No, I mean, first and foremost, it's a fantastic topic and a great question to kind of pick on. And eventually, whether it makes sense or no, boils down to the P&L and the profit line. Right? There are pros and cons of both the things, whether it is on the profit side or whether it is on the brand building or the reach side. I think what really stands in favor of the delivery aggregators or platform, and we work very, very closely with these folks, is their ability to penetrate and just the ease of use. Where an individual who even at 12 in the night, and we have seen this orders for chai flowing into the houses, where people just after having cooked a meal for 6 people and enjoyed a sundowner on a Sunday are then in a zone where they say, let's get chai, but I do
Okay.
not have the energy to go and kind of prepare it, so let me get it from Chai Point. That's fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other part is that is, as a standalone, is the model super sustainable? Now that at the current levels, and again we enjoy a great rapport with these aggregators, the commerce which is involved in taking a delivery from a restaurant to the home is exuberant. It's also a function of infrastructure which is available, the time it takes to deliver, so on and so forth.
Right.
I think that has to get rationalized before we can say that it's a big winner. And until and unless that happens, it will always be a balancer where you have certain underutilized opportunity, and by having a new segment, you are having
Okay.
opportunity being utilized.
So basically, it's touch and go.
Absolutely. At the current commerce, it's you have to have a very fine balance to make sure that you are still able to generate good returns even while delivering a product.
So while okay, I'll ask. Let's peel away the layers a little more. While it definitely adds top line, I have a very tight feeling about adding on to the bottom line. So yes, it's good for branding. You reach people in their homes. Your fixed cost gets sweated better because it's from the same asset. But I am very doubtful, and rightfully one of the major factors, of course, is the aggregators' percentages, whether it actually contributes to the bottom line. Am I right in saying this, Shashank? More or less.
Oh, absolutely, bang on. That's what even we kind of keep watching. And I mean, what is interesting is that even the aggregators are mindful of that fact because they have to make the business successful.
Okay. But they're not really doing anything, honestly, between you and me. They claim their own P&Ls are their problem.
Yeah, when we sit down with them, absolutely. And when you look at the numbers on an Excel sheet, it's a tough spot for them also. And that's where I feel that as the electric movement comes in, as the infrastructure on the roads improves, as people are able to deliver these products over a bicycle, and instead of having to invest into a heavy motorcycle, I think those kind of things will help kind of change the game and swing the game in our favor, because this is going to be a heavy volume driven business. And as a country which is teeming with people, I think there's no dearth of consumers. It's just that how do we reach those consumers in a very efficient and profitable way.
Okay. So Kushang, how does the delivery business help? What do you think about the delivery business?
So I mean, like, I recently had an interaction with ET as well, and it was more about how Zomato is helping and how aggregators are kind of killing the margins, right? I mean, like, see, obviously they have created a market without any doubt, and every business has multiple channels through which they build their top lines, and
Okay.
there is some kind of contribution on the bottom line as well, right? Channel maturity is a important factor when it's going to contribute to which level, right? So I think
Hmm.
it's still early days, because see, food business is not 10 years old. Food business is hundreds of years old, right? And we have learned how to make margins from sitting out and people coming out and eating food, and what should be the menu for that. But then we are still learning on how to optimize for the delivery use case, right? So I see this as a new channel for restaurants, and this is definitely helping top line right now. And more so, I think there are two category of users, and the benefits are also different. So for established brands, it is to some extent helping more on the bottom line as well, because their footfall uh, is not going to die. I'm assuming a post COVID era, right? But for the smaller restaurants, the grind is same. I mean, like, they have to build from scratch, and even on these aggregators, they are not getting sufficient traction, although they have some kind of visibility, which which will be more difficult if they don't have these channels. But then I think benefit still lies in the brand's favor, and branding is something which is always going to help, right? So yeah, so I mean, like, that's my perspective on the delivery side, and I am 100% in that these players are going to help in the long run. But then it's just a span, and we really need to look at what are the other factors through which we can make money. Where is the
Okay.
optimization due, right?
Okay.
And that's where I mean, like, business is a function of revenue and cost, right, ultimately. So maximize revenue and optimize cost, right? So that's the theory which every business runs on. uh, and
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's the place where the other side comes in.
So we'll come to that also at a little later stage. But Shashank, I want to draw upon your industry connect rather than just chai point, To my mind, and I talk to a lot of people, I think we're both aware of it, and a lot of people call me and they want to know what's happening. The way I look at it, it's unless, and I'm keeping the large brands like you, like some of the others out of the picture. For a smaller player, is delivery really, do you think it is helping them to achieve a break even? Let's also, let me be more specific. Let's jump to, let's say, some kind of a casual dining brand, for example. Is it just their way of trying to keep the doors open? Do you think it can actually help them to, you know, achieve a break even? What's your take on that? To me, it's very dicey,
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, absolutely, Ajay sir. I think in the current scenario, if you look at it, see, the current model for casual dining is actually a very, very good example which you've picked up, and that's how we should evaluate by and large scenario. What's happened is that the restaurant was built for people to come in and dine. That was
Yes.
the motto. It was an experience. It was an escape. Now, if we end up using the same facility for delivering a product, basically what Kushang also mentioned, that the optimization of cost is not happening, because you could have invested much lesser, actually 1/10, but you've kind of built those beautiful walls, great sofas, nothing is getting utilized. So in that lens and with that perspective, is it sustainable? Definitely no. And the other part, I think, for casual dining also comes in with the beverage sale, or definitely, I would say, the alcohol part, which comes in. And that doesn't get covered at all. It's pure food.
Right.
And even if we would say that alcohol is available, I mean, hypothetically, a person would still not want to pay a premium, and instead he would use his own bar at home, right? So that's where the balance completely is tipped against the entire economics. And thanks for bringing that perspective. I think where the change, as a when I speak to the peers in the industry, I'm seeing is the inflow of these cloud kitchens. And I know you yourself have been consulting and been extremely busy doing all of that with the cloud kitchen operators. I think that model is built to work completely on these lines. So, and now
Yeah.
kind of getting optimized. We still have a large learning curve as to what are the right costs, because it's absolutely brand new. And the models which have worked in the Europe or US cannot be just copy pasted here. The dynamics are different, the infra is
Absolutely.
different,
Yes, yes, yes. Very well
internet, so on
pointed
and
out.
so forth. So that's where I stand, sir. When you ask me about industry peers, that casual dining, tough time, can't sustain. You're a cloud kitchen model, it's a different story.
Yeah, see, right now what is happening is actually I get a lot of calls from casual dining, cafe brands, and a lot of them are painfully and to my mind unnecessarily trying to convert themselves into delivery businesses. Or they're trying to do a copy paste job like you rightfully mentioned, without understanding the hows and whys. And then after another 3 months they still go belly up because they realize that the rental cannot be pulled out of just their delivery business, especially if they're paying really decent high street rental, even if it has been negotiated downwards. So that to my mind is a worry. I mean, and then the next question they always ask is, Acha sir, but batao, should we keep shut or should we reopen at least? That is a very big challenge now. Kushank, what do you get call from you? You have clients in the casual dining space.
Yeah, I mean,
Have
like,
they changed something? Have they changed what they order? Are they looking for more packaging to send food home?
absolutely, sir. I mean, like, I mean, like, I have personally taken, I think, not less than 100 calls, I would say, right, from different brand owners talking about how you can reduce my current cost. I don't have money to pay my rentals. I don't have money to pay my staff. How can we optimize, right? I mean, like, and most of the talking I have done, especially with these restaurant brands, was how you can actually optimize, right, on the cost side, right? Because that's where we deliver. And most of the suggestions from people like you, and what your company is also doing, is consulting on the revenue side, the models which should happen, the menu changes which you can do, how you can focus on certain SKU, and maybe build a model like a Wow Momos or a Chai Point, which is focused on certain ingredients, so that you know what you're serving the best quality of food, and people can rely as per the safety which they can experience, which they're getting from the kitchen, right? I mean, like, that kind of hygiene, if it doesn't comes, you cannot get that. So I think the first contribution which has always been was to provide a safe place to eat from, right? And that could be only built if you are able to build a brand, right, from scratch. I
Yes,
mean, like, it's about where the supply is coming, how it is being handled in the kitchen, and how is being delivered, right? Swiggy and Zomato have done a good job. I'll always give him a thumbs up of providing the details of the rider, what temperature is coming at, and all that. But last mile is somehow solved. But then inside the kitchen, what's happening, that awareness was missing. Some job has been done there as well, but I would say still a lot could have been done. I mean, like, coming from a tech background, I can understand that a feed could be given and things like that, right? And over and above, where the sourcing of the material is happening, how it is being handled inside the store in the kitchen, is also very important. Now, COVID is one issue, right? I mean, like, even without COVID, I mean, like, there is a common perception कि kitchen में सड़ा हुआ टमाटर आता है, right? When it comes to restaurants, like, you talk to the vegetable owners कि अच्छा तो सब्जी वालों के पास चला जाता है, and rest goes to the restaurants, right? That's a very bad perception. I mean, like, I mean, like, my father, my grandfather, they would like कि बाहर का खाना मत खाओ, right? I mean, like, that's how we have been uh, taught. I mean, like, that's how our food habits should be. But then we are a different generation, right? And we like brands who show how the kitchen looks and all that, right? So the hygiene factor is something which is talked a lot during this COVID period, and it's one of the most necessary additions, actually, which we have learned from COVID. I would say one of the pros, right? The second
right.
thing which we have always consulted was on the business model. I have suggested multi-brand operations to most of the casual dine owners. Definitely, it's not an easy job. The whys and the hows should be learned. And since I mean, like, I would not like to take names, but then if you're running a casual line setup for 20 years in Delhi and NCR, then you should know how exactly the kitchen is run. But then delivery is something which you need to optimize. So there are certain elements which there are certain elements which you don't know. right? But then you have to do that. You have to innovate. There are no second choices right now, right? If you want to sustain and see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to survive this period. So some brands have successfully done that also, and I really appreciate. Packaging needs to be looked upon, right? How you are going to present your food. Problem kya hai ki, I mean, like the casual dines have never ever focused on delivery at all, right? So they don't know how to package. The food sogginess is a major issue. I mean, like
Yeah.
it tastes two different food qualities when you are eating inside the restaurant and outside the restaurant. It's a very common problem
I
even
think,
for standalones.
yeah, till pre-COVID, a lot of good casual dining brands were still living in the aluminum foil and plastica packet.
Absolutely.
You know, even plastic packaging, not even boxes, just the boxes for the gravies and everything else in a aluminum foil railway type of container, which is horrible
And sir,
compared to what you got when you went into the restaurant.
and that reminds of an important innovation which Chai Point did. And it reminds me of my Adior Cup days, the chai flask. What a
Yes.
innovation you guys brought. Kudos for that. And I am telling you, we did multiple models and for multiple brands. Even at Teapot, I remember, Ajay sir, you had a brilliant introduction there as well. So again, packaging, chai made deliverable, right? Just by packaging innovation. So today the burgers we eat or the sandwiches we eat, how soggy they are. I mean, like only 3 or 4 brands are able to crack that, the same taste quality. So a lot of work can be done just by packaging, and people are ready to pay a premium for 5 rupees of a non-soggy sandwich, right? So
Yeah,
I think
totally.
that could be
I
definitely
think
worked one.
even McDonald's, and I am willing to take a name, does not know how to deliver a non-soggy burger, because
Absolutely.
they just put their burger in a wrapper and they send it home. That's about it. So God help you if you're living 45 minutes away, and
I
God help you
always
if
suggest
the
that
rider took 10 minutes to enter your society.
take a drive-through. Don't order from McDonald's
No,
since
of
we are
course.
taking names.
In fact, it's very strange. I had suggested to a couple of cafe operators when this whole thing reopened that since you're not allowed to put in more seating or reduce your seating, cut off part of your seating space, add in a delivery packaging section, at least like a temporary kind of, structure inside your restaurant. But no one seems to have the courage to do that. They've sat with empty cafes and the small kitchens which they typically built, very, very tight kitchen, but they would not add that packaging area.
Just
And
to
I
add,
told them it's like simple thing to do when you are in this phase, when you want your delivery to grow. So things like that keep happening. So tell me, Shashank, do you think this whole focus on delivery business, and I'm not talking about cloud operators, that's a business which is coming of age, but this whole focus on delivery for our casual dining, our brands like yours, will it continue as strongly once things normalize, let's say a year from now, or and should they continue? Shouldn't we just go back to doing our good business? See, it does put a stress on your business, this delivery part of it. For beverage, it may be different, honestly, but it may not be. If you get everybody wanting to have a cup of chai at 5 p.m. at your cafe, I'm sure everybody in his office also wants chai at 5 p.m.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to very, very important question. Again, once again, you hit the nail on the head. That one, do I, with the current trends, and of course, can't really crystal gaze, but with the current trends, what we have seen, because we've seen the opening up of the market, the
Yeah,
delivery share has just stayed. So the walk-in was down to zilch, and the delivery picked up. The deliveries continue to grow. The walk-in is also kind of growing. So that's good, right? For operators like all of us in this space, added business is great because you are utilizing idealing inventory, whether it's of manpower or whether it is of equipment capex, so on and so forth. Uh, if we continue to operate with the current models, right, where we invest heavily into real estate as retailers and then expect to be heavy on delivery segment, it's not going to, and then it shouldn't work. And God helps those who will continue to push that direction. I think it's pretty simple. Nobody would want to. So the
right.
idea has to be that the infrastructure and the thought process of people, and I think as Indians, we are very open to embracing things after a point of time. We reach a particular cusp and then we say, chalo, theek hai, done, yeah, we'll embrace it. I think that's going to happen, and we will see the people who have stayed committed to sustainable packaging, to innovative packaging, to making sure the food miles or the ability of us as a retailer to deliver to the customer in the most freshest of possible ways and the originality of the product, it's, I think it's going to be a win-win. Infrastructure will improve, costs will slightly come down. However, the ability to pay and charge a premium will continue to stay there. As Kushang also mentioned, no problems paying 5 to 7 rupees extra if it's packaged well, delivered well. You also echoed the thought. I think it's going to be a win-win.
Okay.
It's only about to optimize the two things. Heavy leverage on one side. We saw in COVID what happened. Those people who were not changing or already had not changed took a longer time to recover.
Right.
Still recovering. And people who will only continue to be putting all their eggs in one basket of delivery, they will miss out on this big opportunity of having higher margins when customers kind of come in to the store.
Absolutely. So would you be thinking that would kitchen designs change in future to kind of accommodate those extra 5, 10, 15 square feet, which is a must, you know?
Absolutely, it's already done. It's so if you would see us, and I mean, if I don't have to talk just specifically about myself, I've seen some other peers also. There is a dedicated zone which is a pickup point for the delivery riders as they approach the store. In fact, to a level where we have said that within the restaurant or the cafe, we wouldn't want the rider to come inside,
Right.
optimize time and also maintain the hygiene standards and just to make efficient. So the way kitchens are being designed is that there is a specific part which is allocated in the corner, which has access to outside where you can just come and pick it up. And we've been working with the best of developers because they kind of review our designs. We also kind of brainstorm, and they've been embracing it. They said, great, this is your delivery window. This is where the guy comes in. So everyone who's within the store is still being temperature monitored and is coming through that air curtain, so on and so forth. While the delivery window is just opens, you hand it over, you scan the QR codes, boom, done. So kitchen design, of course, is embracing it already.
You know, this gives me a thought. The greatness of a gentleman called Deepak Nirula. I'm sure Shashank would have heard of him. Kushang, have you heard of him?
Absolutely. I have a
Mr.
office
Deepak
which is
Nirula,
nearby.
I mean, I joined, I worked with Nirulas from 2008 onwards. And even at that stage, in every kitchen of Nirulas, there is a delivery pickup table at the back of the kitchen with an access directly outside. They would never build a kitchen without a separate staff entrance and a separate guest entrance. He would not take up a property, as I understood. Of course, they had already left the business about 2 years, and I joined up with Navis Capital. But in every design, there was a spare table lying over there at the back saying delivery pickup table. Imagine, so many years back. I'm talking to you, 2008 is when I came in, and he had done that maybe in 2003 or 4. Phenomenal.
Visionary he was.
Absolutely, you know, and today, now the cafes are having to go back to that, having a dedicated kind of delivery pickup. Wonderful. That's why he was such a great, guy, and he built what he did build. So tell me now, Shashank, what is the kind of technology? I know Mr. Amulik is actually a big, what shall I say, call him a geek, or he's a big fan of technology. We all know that. And I'm sure now with the number of years you've been there with them, so are you. What is the technology platform? Does it help in delivery business as well? Or is it just help? Did it only help in the dining business? Having a good technology platform.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not just talking about the POS, sorry. I mean, the entire end-to-end experience kind of.
Yeah. No, I mean, comes with a little bit of a disclaimer. We ourselves are building a very robust software platform for other B2C
Yes.
organizations to kind of pick up.
Okay.
So we are in that business as well. Very, very proud of it. It's all in-house. And we already run close to about 100 plus stores on it. Having said that, I think embracement of technology and going digital is important. And where we come from is that it just improves the accuracy and speed in when you are completing a transaction. And it's just not just a transaction, it's every single interaction is error free if you have kind of fixed the basics. Second thing, what it also does is ease of use. So the real estate is now actually a 7-inch on your phone, and the more beautifully you can
Totally.
and access your target customer on that 7 inches of screen, whether it's your own app, whether it's via WhatsApp, or whether it's through the aggregator platform, works beautifully well. Thirdly, what it has done is, with the embracing of social media by genre of people, even my grandma is now extremely active over Zoom calls or Facebook. It has just helped create that brand reach, which actually
Okay.
translates into transactions. Where, when the consensus has to be built within the family ki kahan se order kare, everybody is kind of heard about you. मैंने देखी थी वो वाली ad, वो आसाम से पत्तियां तोड़ के लाते हैं चाय की. I think finally what we also kind of realized is that cost optimization is something which is a big kicker in this whole game, and we were able to, and I think I took your inputs also, and in the early stage I spoke to you when we were building the WhatsApp ordering platform that was completely done by us in-house, and we are enjoying some fantastic fruits of it, because we also have been able to curtail our dependency on just 2 or 3 big players. And
Okay.
our own arm has sustained, and the benefit has been passed to the consumer,
Right.
because we don't end up paying commissions. So it's very interesting. It will just keep on evolving. But I think reliance on technology, big thumbs up.
Are your vendors on the platform also?
Yes, absolutely. So we have also personally been tweaking our entire warehouse management system, supply chain system. We are working very, very closely on backward integration in terms of zero-based budgeting, and also kind of bringing in pre-GRNs. So things like return to vendor, things like where we have inventory mismatch, numbers mismatch, tracking of a particular product, right? What kind of a shelf life? So even before it reaches the warehouse, we know what kind of a shelf life the product has, and
Okay.
the supplier knows कि यार अगर इससे कम की shelf life पे मैं product को भेज रहा हूँ और transit में 3 से 4 दिन 5 दिन लगने हैं, this product cannot get kind of accepted by the warehouse team at ChaiPoint. So the entire technological advancement, where there is a pre-GRN based on the shelf life which the product has, and our endeavor to bring you the freshest of product, so it's beautiful, because and time optimization. Now nobody's sitting down doing inwards and stuff like that, because products have been pre-GRN, there are barcodes, you're scanning it, it's all working very, very seamlessly.
Okay. So does that mean your vendors are also able to log into your system?
With the current model what we are building, absolutely they
They
would
will be able
have a
to.
clear view. I mean, eventually what we wish to do is have them have the insight that when should he start producing,
Of course.
and once he knows when to start producing without us having to communicate, we know it brings down the timeline between orders being placed and the orders being dispatched, and that kind of increases the shelf life and the freshness of the product.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. So Kushang, your inputs, because that's exactly kind of platform which you have built, and importantly what happens, and the way I saw the supply node platform, that vendors have a login window into the client directly.
Yeah, absolutely. So fair point, Shashank. I think exactly similar view is what we want to bring to almost 90% of the market. So what we really understood that technology can actually fill in gaps at multiple places, and obviously our selection was at the vendor client interaction, because we saw a big hole, right, which almost 90-95% of the market is not able to cater. The reason behind that is uh, the vendor are dealing with multiple people, right, and they don't have a reason to plug in, right? For a large enterprise like a ChaiPoint or a McDonald's, or it's easier because they groom their vendors, they give them certain specific benefits when they come to use their platform. But if you look at the majority of the market, people who have 3 outlets and are aspiring to become a multi-outlet setup, 50 to 60 outlet, and scaling up is a big problem, right? So we have made a system which basically integrates with their current tech infrastructure. So it plugs in, play with the POS systems, or if you have advanced to the inventory level, we plug and play there. And then on the other end, technology has been there on the accounting side, which is obviously limited to accountant. So he's using a Tally. In these days, some of them are using QuickBooks or maybe a Zoho Books, right?
Zoho
So
Books,
we have
yes.
integrated with these functions. And on the other side, the aggregators like Urban Piper and other players, we have stitched that also. So we have stitched the current layers, right? And we have created an ecosystem where we are creating the kitchen operations, or per se the warehouse operation with the supplier operations, right? So this requires multiple things depending on the scale of the restaurant. So if you're a standalone restaurant, the deliveries are coming directly inbound to your outlet. If you're a multi-outlet setup, then you might have a warehouse, and there the instruction are reaching from the kitchen to the warehouse and then warehouse to the supplier, right? So we stitch these three levels. And if you are a multi-outlet setup where it comes at a central place, then distributed at multiple warehouses and then to the kitchens, then the complications are more. So we are customized for all kind of scales, right? So we have been lucky to partner with a lot of big brands also, I mean, like who rely on a technology which is enriching from multiple data points and can add value in their system. Because see, the beauty is that since we are a multi-brand setup and as many as thousands of restaurants are using our platform, we are able to learn about the society as well. So we try to bring in intelligence such as how the sales is going to trend out, right? Not only on the POS data, but also on other factors, how things are happening inside the outlet. And based on that, we are able to help out the supplier to project, as Shashank rightly pointed out, when to manufacture, when to ship, right? So intelligence
Absolutely.
of a sales of a restaurant is
Right.
being connected to the sales of a seller, right? And it impacts both the margins, both the bottom lines, to be very honest. And see, I mean, so where is the game? I mean, like food wastage is neither a gain for a restaurant nor for a supplier, right? And there are empty stomachs all across the world, right? So let's try to optimize. So that's the thesis of our brand, and that's where kind of plugging in. And obviously, in between there are a lot of inefficiencies like pilferage, warehouses being empty or overstored, capital being blocked, multiple vehicle being used for at multiple steps just for nothing, just for distribution. I mean, like, why can't we pitch in a Cremica directly to an outlet instead of storing at three places, right? So that kind of efficiency is what we are envisioning for a country like ours, where millions of outlets scaling from a dhaba to a facility like Chai Point exist, right? So that's our vision. We are, I think, 2% in our journey. Hopefully, we'll cover the remaining miles soon.
So one thing very dangerously I hear is Kushang wants to be the Google in the F&B retail supply chain, knowing everything about every movement of material and packaging moving around. But that's interesting. And the one thing which, let me put it this way, that I have seen a lot of softwares. The most interesting part, Kushang, that I have seen in the supply chain, apart from the obvious benefits of vendors and all, is the fact that wherein the accounting of the vendor and the company, the client, are transparently available at any given time. The biggest headache that we
Absolutely.
as business operators or as senior management always face with vendors is when vendors are claiming X amount and your purchase or your accounts department says it's never X. It's like X minus 2 or X minus 4. And then Shashank will again, I'm sure, back that up, that famous statement, sir, usko bolo apna ledger bhej de. Am I right, Shashank? This is the most famous one. Sir, usko bolo apna ledger
Absolutely.
bhej de. Let him stop bothering you
Absolutely.
for payment, ledger bhej de. That is like, so
And then there is 6 din ki shanti, and then somebody makes it.
absolutely 6 दिन की शांति, and then it's again back, ledger आ गया नहीं आया, then it's ledger tally नहीं हो रहा, now send a guy over who will sit down and make the ledger tally. So that's a beauty in the supply note system, where the ledgers are transparently available to both parties and they get updated on a real time basis. So that is one thing. Anything else, Shashank, as a very seasoned player now, that you think that you want to see in a tech platform in F&B retail?
You're very kind to say that, sir. But absolutely, whatever Kushan said was music to my ears as an operator, and I know you are an operator at heart, always will be. So, kind of, you're really solving a great set of problems, which will build effectively higher amount of efficiencies, greater amount of trust, because we've kind of at Chai Point, at least what we feel is our vendors are actually our very deep partners, and people whom we want to nurture and grow, right? We want to support them. And I think the one of the easiest way for anyone to make this relationship work is transparency, because the moment there is transparency, there is huge amount of comfort. The moment there is huge amount of comfort, you organically want to deliver your best for
Right.
individual which you're doing, right? And I think that's how we will grow at breakneck speeds. Otherwise, it's just gonna average out double digit growth, ho rahi hai. But if we have to grow exponentially, and that's the need of the hour, I think it's very important that there is greater level of transparency. The moment, and also I think one of the things which we have picked up is with the current generation, because that's what we'll also have to kind of look at is the millennials who are coming on board. They are also people who think in terms of algos, right? So if there is an algo, if there's a structure to the thought process,
Right.
that's when aligning larger teams, younger, senior people, younger people, all age groups, very easy, because you have a framework within which you have to work. There are guardrails within which you're working. And then within those guardrails, there are very defined, transparent, small little silos. And then it just keeps on transferring from one bucket to another, keeps on going back and forth. So I think I really enjoyed listening to what Kushan said, and yeah, will be a great opportunity to kind of look at how we can also optimize our operations.
No thing.
Absolutely.
Let's connect sometime after this.
Yeah, you guys should do that. And I think one thing which I picked up from Shashank, so many nice thoughts, good thoughts, is that whole part about the vendor knowing when to start producing. That's wonderful. That's of course an idealistic situation, but that is, I mean, I can actually envision it this way, that there's a bell in the vendor's office, it rings, and a different ringtone for Chai Point's order and a different ringtone for somebody else's order. You know, something like that. There's an alarm bell. Okay, there's a message dropped in for a production order, or a production need is getting generated. And maybe come to that level of AI, which, things like that happen.
Sir, but then that has been achieved, sir, in multiple industries. Sorry, I'm just adding one point. And that is the inspiration. If you look at the automobile industry, or maybe high frequency industries as well,
Right.
oil industry, all is being optimized to such level, because see, people understand. I mean, like the economy is such, food economy in India today is it's touching hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, like I'm talking of a pre-COVID and a post-COVID era, right? And then if you are able to optimize even 2-3%, right? So how much contribution you are making? So oil is a huge data. I mean, like a huge economy. They're they can't afford a 2% inefficiency, and same is going to happen here as well. I mean, like from a very macro point, from an economical perspective, it makes sense, and I'm sure that the ringing bell will happen. Zomato has done that inside the restaurant.
Yeah, I'm talking about F&B retail, because it's always been kind of a lame duck as far as technology is concerned, except for the last 5-7 years, when younger people, younger minds are willing to adapt and really ask for technology. So that's what I look at it. So wonderful chat. Thank you so much, both of you, and great going to Chai Point. All the best. We want to see the numbers ringing. What's your total score now in terms of outlets, Shashank?
Currently, we are almost close to 96.
Okay, so
and,
so I want an invite when you do the 100th.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And this is actually re-going to 100 back, because pre-COVID
Which is fine.
way beyond that number, but
we're happy. So
love
I
to
didn't
send it back to you.
I'm saying I didn't get the 100th invite ka launch pehli bari, is bari aana hai. So we all want to meet up on that specially.
Absolutely, to both of you, in fact, would love to.
Yeah, both of us.
Have you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kushan. Thank you, Shashank. Kushan, you want to say something? Sure.
No, I was just saying, I have been a customer. The 100 tea at Chai Point would be special, I guess.
Okay, wonderful. Great going,
Absolutely.
guys.
No,
Take
thank
care.
you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for
Thank you.
making
Bye.
lives easy. All right. Thank you so much, Ajay sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.